Nếu mà lúc đó em không được vào đây á, em nghĩ cuộc sống của em nó không được tốt như bây giờ. Thực ra lúc nào em cũng cảm thấy vui trong lòng hết. Tại vì vào đây là một điều rất là may mắn trong cuộc đời em.
Khi mình giúp được cho ai đó cảm thấy hạnh phúc là mình cảm thấy tự hào.
I want them to be surrounded by love, which they are. I want to see smiles on their faces, which they have. And I want them to know that they're loved, which they are.
When we see children come to us, most of them are like broken little birds. They're like the baby bird where the wings are broken. So when we work with them and we empower them, and for them to get their confidence back again.
Because love is the only thing that matters. Bearing that in mind and at heart, Christina Noble Children's Foundation staff have served the vulnerable children and their communities and will continue to do wholeheartedly until no child is in need of their support. CNCF have responded to over 1 million human stories and empowered to change their lives. As the world evolves, so too does CNCF, now a third-generation family foundation. And it is our honor and delight to have here with us CEO of CNCF, Christina Noble. Welcome to Talk Vietnam. Thank you so much, Ms. Christina, for joining us. And I believe I can call you Helen for short, right?
Yes, you can.
And welcome to Talk Vietnam.
It's really wonderful to be here.
I just learned that you just returned from a recent trip to do some fundraising for your organization. So it's been 34 years, more than 30 years that CNCF has been in Vietnam. So during that journey, what makes you the most proud of?
Oh goodness, that's a big question. The most proud of? It's actually quite simple, that response. When a child comes to us, most of the time they're like broken little birds, you know. Mm-hmm. And they could be broken little birds for many reasons. Obviously, when you're born into abject poverty, sometimes that's enough. You don't need to also experience abuse and neglect and exploitation. Of course, many of the children have suffered that as well. But just simply trying to survive as a child living in poverty. And then when they come to the foundation and we work with them, and then you see them graduate, it can be 5 years, it can be 10 years, it can be 15 years. And you see them, they soar away like flying strong eagles. Mm. And then I've got goosebumps even talking about it now. Yeah. But to see children come as fragile, broken little birds, at best fragile, and then to see them fly away so strong, with a self-esteem all intact.
So it's actually the impact that on a human being's life, changing his or her life into better is what make you the most proud of. So how many abandoned children, orphans, and adolescents have CNCF been supporting so far?
Okay, well, over the last 34 years, its direct impact is just under 1 million, about 958,000 is the exact number. Mm. But indirect impact, close to 2 million, more really. Yeah. And what do I mean by direct impact and indirect impact? So direct impact is where you work directly with the child, right? And indirect impact could be the impact that has on the mother, the father, the grandparents, the aunts, the family as a whole. When you know my mother's story, she came here to do what we are still doing today.
Born into the slums of Dublin, Ireland, Christina Noble overcame the death of her mother at an early age. She spent her childhood marginalized, isolated, and suffering institutional abuse, ultimately surviving years spent in orphanages and periods of homelessness in the streets and parks of Dublin. Her difficult beginnings fueled her passion for children's rights, to which she has dedicated her life. After arriving in Vietnam in 1989 and seeing firsthand the challenges faced by local children living in abject poverty, Christina Noble formally established the Christina Noble Children's Foundation, CNCF. This British-registered non-government organization was established in Ho Chi Minh City in 1989 and in Mongolia in 1997.
She is the most passionate woman I've ever met. She doesn't know the meaning of the word no. Whatever she wants to get done, she gets done. So this is this woman who just, everything she thinks about is for the children. And so this is the foundation of the Christina Noble Children's Foundation. Christina called it a foundation because she believes with the building blocks of an education and health and love, you can do anything in life.
6 years ago, Christina Noble retired, and now her daughter, Helenita Noble, has inherited her will to continue the journey helping children in need.
Một tổ chức NGO quốc tế thì chúng tôi nhận được rất nhiều sự hỗ trợ từ các cơ quan ban ngành của chính phủ Việt Nam. CNCF hiện giờ có hoạt động ở tổng cộng là 10 địa bàn, trong đó có 9 tỉnh và thành phố Hồ Chí Minh.
Until now, Christina and her foundation have established over 170 projects, providing education, healthcare, and community development humanitarian services to vulnerable and destitute children and their families in poor rural communities. To date, these projects have assisted over 900,000 children and collectively have impacted the lives of over 1 million children and adults.
So what sets CNCF apart from other charities?
So much sets CNCF apart from other charities. I think the most obvious is that we are a third generation family foundation, which is almost unheard of, to have 3 generations of one family operate an organization. You know, my mother, Christina, who was our founder, and of course I've worked with my mother for 30 years, and then my own son operates Mongolia, but as it goes through the generations, if we want to protect the legacy and continue the legacy, the programs, the areas of the programs that we have operated since 1989 are education, healthcare, community development, child sponsorship. The obvious, because when we first started the foundation in 1989, you know, there was thousands of children on the streets then with no access to education or healthcare. Very little infrastructure at that time as well. And that's why we went into community development as well. But after 3 decades, it's very different Vietnam to the Vietnam when my mother first arrived.
Yeah.
So as a foundation, we must align ourselves with what does the country still need. So when we first started, it was very much about survival. It was ensuring that the disadvantaged, socio-economically challenged communities were able to survive. Now it's about thrive, right? Now it's about making sure that children from disadvantaged communities have exactly the same access, right, to children who come from more affluent families, that they have exactly the same access to the same opportunities. Again, you know, Vietnam is in comparison to what it was 30 years ago, is thriving now with opportunities, you know. And as I said, the development has been profound. I mean, I'm so proud of Vietnam and its journey of the last, just through my experience, 30 years, you know. Yeah. But to answer your question, it's about what does the country need? Okay. What do disadvantaged children need? Yes, it's all about education, but it's also about ensuring that The children that we work with also have access to, you know, personal development, life skills, you know, how to conduct yourself in a job interview, you know, how to EQ, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, you know, it's about instilling all of that into the young people that we work with. So they are really ready for the world, right? The world has absolutely, totally transformed, right? We have our healthcare programs. We have our Sunshine Social and Medical Centre, which is in District 3 in Ho Chi Minh City. That's our flagship project. And we have operated that in partnership with Molisa, the Ministry of Labour, Invalids and Social Affairs. We've had an excellent working relationship, partnership with them for 34 years. You know, we are a third generation family, and of course, family is something that is incredibly valued and appreciated in the Vietnamese culture as well. So I think they have a special little light for us because most of my mother's family has, you know, her children and her grandchildren have committed and to working in Vietnam as well. So, you know, our vision is to continue doing what we do well, and that is empowering the children and making sure, just as importantly though, as I said earlier, you can't help the child without helping the family unit. So where there is a family in place, our foundation will work with the family, will empower the family to help their children. You know, Vietnam gets right inside the heart and right inside the veins, you know. We always say that we came to Vietnam for my mother, to support my mother, but we stayed in Vietnam because of the people and the country, and there's a magic, you know, that keeps most foreigners here, you know. You can see that there's a real love for Vietnam right across the world, right? We're a family foundation, so our culture is that of a family, you know. So and that is why we're still here 34 years. And my mother, you know, was very adamant from the very, very beginning, right, to ensure that our team was as local as it could possibly be. We've always been very proud to promote our local team. I've been based in Ho Chi Minh City on and off for nearly 30 years. This time it's been the last 6 years. I've been here almost straight through for 6 years.
CNCF boasts numerous meaningful programs for community development, such as the Microfinance Loan Program, which enables low-income people living in extreme poverty to establish or expand their small and medium-sized businesses, such as raising livestock and subsistence farming. The Rural Water Program, which aims to provide access to water for households suffering water scarcity and contaminated water sources due to climate change in Vietnam, is among CNCF's outstanding social projects. Additionally, CNCF has established the Bicycle Support Program to allow disadvantaged children to get to school safely, and the Rural Kindergartens Construction Program to boost education in Vietnam. The Medical Assistance Program is also one of the Foundation's charitable activities that has gained wide attention. This program provides direct financial assistance to Vietnamese children needing urgent medical care. Throughout its 34-year journey, CNCF has continuously strived to transform thousands of people's lives and especially help children have a brighter future.
To be able to keep doing, you know, good things to help disadvantaged children, obviously you need resources to do that. So besides finances, what else, what kind of support is CNCF is in need of right now?
We also are always in need of pro bono professional services. You know, would be IT, legal, especially legal as well, business. So to have those kind of pro bono services are integral for the development of the team, and also it keeps our costs right down, right? And of course, for donations, a gift in kind. You know, it can be anything from all the things that a child or a family require, to time in kind, service in kind, where we would rely on volunteers from overseas and local as well. So if one thinks of what is it that a family needs to operate, right, and to operate across thousands, okay, it's everything we need. Toys, clothes, you know, equipment, medication, medicines.
I've also learned that the children who received support from CNCF, many of them are now paying back by also working for the organization, for the foundation. So what do you think about this fact?
Well, it's like, you know, a family, right? When a child goes off out into the world and they get educated, they gain knowledge and experience, and then they come back and they feed that back into the family. We're incredibly proud that over we're really seeing it now in the last 7 or 8 years especially, maybe 10 years, where the children are coming back as adults, and they are now nurses or librarians, or they work as social workers, what makes us proud. And when we see our children coming back as adults who are now leading very healthy and independent lives, and they have a family of their own, they have the next generations, and you can see they've broken that cycle, that generational cycle of poverty. And then they come in and they say, how much do you need for a kindergarten? You know, or, you know, there's a donation. I mean, it's incredibly beautiful. It's lovely.
Sunshine Social and Medical Center, it's where CNCF has operated philanthropic programs since its founding years. The Sunshine and Health Social Center provides healthcare services, nutritional support, physiotherapy-based rehabilitation, psychological care, preschool education, and daycare services for infants and toddlers who are orphans or come from impoverished families. Furthermore, education is provided for children with disabilities in the form of special needs classes. As a result, thousands of children have had their lives transformed for the better, and their families' worries and hardships have been significantly alleviated.
Gia đình tôi rất cảm ơn trung tâm đã giúp đỡ cho gia đình, cho 2 cháu học, và một cháu đã ra trường học lớp 3, còn đây một bé thì đang học. Còn cho bé vô đây thì mình cũng đỡ một phần chi phí để cho trải gia đình.
That is also where Christina Noble, Christina's daughters, frequents to encourage teachers, students, and children's families. For Helenita and her co-workers, seeing radiant smiles on innocent children's faces is an invaluable gift that brings them happiness and motivation, fueling their further efforts.
To me, I think it's a privilege being able to work with the children and at the foundation. I want to see a full stomach full of food. I want them to be surrounded by love, which they are. I want to see smiles on their faces, which they have. Life is not about seeing how much money you can get. It's giving back something. I get more from the children than I give them. Happiness, laughter.
So you also mentioned 3 major focuses that the foundation is launching in Vietnam. Programs on improving health, education and community building.
Yeah.
So can you give us some examples?
In 2004, we started the medical exchange program, where we bring in world-class pediatric surgeons and surgical teams over to Vietnam to perform complex surgery, complex life-saving surgery that was not available here in Vietnam. And here we are 20 years later, and we still have that program running. And it's had a huge impact, this program. And they are still performing more complex surgeries here. But we also take Vietnamese surgical and medical teams over to Ireland, right? So, and where they are trained up as well, and where they can bring all that training back to Vietnam. We have our medical assistance program. So our medical assistance program offers financial support. We've worked with Children's Hospital No. 2 in Ho Chí Minh for 25 years, and where we financially support families that are facing financial difficulties and that need medical care, health care, especially emergency operations and so on. We also financially support all the post-operative care as well, and all any other form of post-care that they need, you know, including nutrition, you know, and ensuring that they do go back for the follow-ups and checkups. We do dental care, we do, you know, we right across the board. But education, again, at our Sunshine Schools, which originally started out to provide education for street children in those early years. So it was to provide, you know, children that had never had any kind of access to any form of education. And that was to prepare them, to get them to a place where we could integrate them into the local schools. We've built a lot of kindergartens, primary schools, classrooms, science labs, IT labs. So again, and that also extracurricular education, such as the arts, music, sports, after school clubs. A lot of children, you know, maybe their parents are working till 8, 9 in the evening, and maybe they have, you know, to keep them off the streets after school time, we will have after school clubs. You know, it could be dancing, you know, playing badminton, taekwondo, judo, you know, everything that you would give your own child if you could, right?
CNCF has initiated over 170 projects providing education, healthcare, and community development humanitarian services. Prominently among them are 2 projects conducted in Ho Chi Minh City: Sunshine Homes for boys and Sunshine Homes for girls. These provide safe and caring shelters for vulnerable children living on the streets and those at risk of starvation and social evils.
Nếu mà kể về cuộc đời của em thì chia làm 2 giai đoạn. Đầu tiên là trước khi em vào mái ấm thì lúc đó là em là trẻ đường phố. Tức là em ăn ngoài đường, ngủ ngoài đường, sống ngoài đường, học ngoài đường luôn. Thì sau đó em mới rất là may mắn em tìm được Hiệp hội CNCF. Thì lúc đó em được cho tiếp tục đi học. Và may mắn là lúc đó em không phải tốn tiền học nữa. Nên là rất là tốt cho gia đình em. Nếu mà lúc đó em không được vào đây á, em nghĩ cuộc sống của em nó không được tốt như bây giờ đâu. Lúc nào em cũng cảm thấy vui trong lòng hết. Tại vì như em đã nói đó thì vào đây là một điều rất là may mắn trong cuộc đời em. Nó có thể nó đã thay đổi em rất là nhiều.
Em vào đây em đã học lớp 5 và bây giờ em đã học lớp 12 rồi. Ví dụ như là được học nhiều kỹ năng sống, được học các môn ngoại khóa như là vẽ, múa và bơi, và được đi học đầy đủ như các bạn cùng trang lứa. Em cảm thấy các cô rất là tốt và luôn ân cần dạy dỗ em và quan tâm em.
Helenita Noble takes time to visit, listen, and interact with the children at the Sunshine Homes despite her busy schedule. She wishes to follow in her mother's footsteps and lead CNCF to help more children achieve their aspirations and aim towards a brighter future.
Em thích trở thành một nhân viên văn phòng.
Định hướng là làm một cái mảng về kỹ thuật ô tô.
Em muốn trở thành làm nghề pha chế.
What about community building?
We have our residential homes as well. Should have mentioned those. So we have our Sunshine homes for girls, and Sunshine home for boys. The boys we started in 1994, our girls' home in 1997, and that's here again in Ho Chi Minh City. And that is for children that have either been orphaned or abandoned or have been left to roam the streets. We work with the local authorities. A lot of referrals are made to our homes. We also have our microfinance loans, where we will go into whole communities, and then what we do is we give families a loan to start their own small micro enterprise, and we also give them business advice and navigate them through the process, teach them about how to handle things financially, how to handle their business financially. And this can lift whole communities out of poverty as well. And of course, with a real focus on single parent families, who goes to work and looks after the children, right? So we also have our child sponsorship program, where you can sponsor a child. Now, our sponsors are from all around the world. So for a monthly amount of money, you can sponsor a child in the community and ensure that child has access to school. Could go on. And, we do water sanitation, we build water tanks, water wells, we build bridges. So children can get to school safely and they don't have to cross, rivers, or bringing communities together, and easier access to markets, so families can sell their goods, without having to cross very turbulent rivers. And we are in the middle of signing some new agreements with some very reputable Vietnamese universities as well, because we put children in from kindergarten age right up to university level. And we also send children overseas as well. We navigate them through getting their scholarships to go overseas and further their studies.
In 1999, the Tây Ninh Center for Visually Impaired Children was established by CNCF in partnership with the Ministry of Labor, Invalids and Social Affairs. The center functions as both a residential and educational center, providing children with long-term residential care, food, healthcare, education, including formal education, rehabilitation and life skills training, recreational activities, and vocational training. The Tây Ninh Center is the only facility offering services and support to visually impaired children and young adults in the southern province of Tây Ninh. To date, the Tây Ninh Center has supported over 1,200 children.
What sets CNCF apart from other charities? First of all, it is a three-generation family, right, devoted to this charity work. So can you explain more about that? And then about your mother when she first established CNCF in Vietnam.
My mother was born in Ireland in 1944, and she was born into real abject poverty. Very sadly, at the age of 9, 10, she was then orphaned. And that's when her and her younger siblings were living on the streets. The authorities finally caught up with them, and they were all put into different orphanages. And then my mother literally being thrown out at the age of 16, saying, there you go, make your own way in the world.
Wow.
And of course, she had nowhere to go, no family, no.
Yeah.
So she was back out on the streets again, till she was about 18, almost 18. So this, of course, instilled in my mother a deep passion for children's rights, and that children, you know, every child deserves a healthy childhood, one of safety, protection, security, and every child should have access to education and healthcare. But it triggered in my mother a dream that would be a reoccurring dream that she had for 18 years, 17 years. And the dream was, it was literally just children reaching out to her saying, help me, right? And and behind them, in like a blurry lights, was Vietnam. So it really, really stayed with her. Right. And of course, we grew up hearing about her reoccurring dream, and we all knew that one day she would come to Vietnam. Yeah. And she came in 1989. There was a trade embargo. It was a post-war torn country still. You know, it was very sad times for Vietnam. But I say sad times, but I still think of the optimism of the people. You know, even so many people were suffering and so many people were living in poverty. But there was still great optimism amongst the Vietnamese community. She arrived September the 9th, 1989. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know how she was going to do it. She just knew she had to do it. She knew she had to come here, and she believed that whatever she was meant to do will reveal itself. It's an incredible story. Yeah. So everything makes sense. When you know the story, everything makes sense.
Yeah. What about your sons? What does he think about, you know, now carrying on the family legacy?
My son, Thomas, is my eldest son. He's an incredible human being, and he was definitely born and put on this earth to do good, you know. And Thomas has really, he's been the one to oversee a lot of the operations in Mongolia. Right. But my brother was also here for 26 years as well. So he was, he ran the operations here, while my mom and myself were going around the world fundraising.
In 2023, the Christina Noble Children's Foundation, CNCF, organized the Children's Walk for Hope, themed as a movement from darkness to light. This event sought to unite people worldwide to empower vulnerable children while promoting the importance of ensuring mental and physical health in a safe and secure environment. This allows underprivileged children to have the better future they deserve. This year's walk in Vietnam drew the participation of more than 1,500 athletes of all ages, targeting three main goals: supporting disadvantaged children in need of physical and mental health care in Vietnam, spreading awareness of CNCF's mission, vision, and core values, celebrating 34 years of CNCF's continuous efforts in helping vulnerable children in Vietnam and Mongolia develop their social competence and capacities. This event also reinforced links between CNCF and local partners, other non-governmental organizations, and social enterprises based on their common values.
So now I want to ask about the future goals of CNCF going forward.
As I said earlier, we want to education, 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 and it really is the Noble Academies. Looking at social enterprise models as well. Again, it's just ensuring that children from disadvantaged communities have absolutely the same opportunities as children from more affluent communities and more stable families, because you know Vietnam now is it's becoming the heartbeat of Asia, right? And that is rippling across the world as well. So all the opportunities are out there. You see, when we first started, those opportunities didn't exist. That's what I say, it was all about survival then. Right. Now it's about ensuring children thrive. And you know, people might say, but you know, you're a Westerner, you're a foreigner, why do you care after 30 years? Why would you still want to be here? Because of course, you know, Vietnam is embedded in our hearts and in our own family legacy now. So whatever, even if Vietnam became the most affluent, richest country in the whole world, we would still be here doing something because we belong here. Our family legacy is rooted in Vietnam. The very heartbeat of the foundation is in Vietnam. So we want to just keep contributing in the way that my mother intended for us all to do. We will always remain in Asia because after over 3 decades, we understand Asia. We understand the Asian mindset, and our hearts are Asian now. So why would we go anywhere else? You know, we love Asia. We love Vietnam. We love Asia.
Well, thank you for your love for Vietnam, for Asia, and for all of the work that you've been doing here to help support disadvantaged children. We wish you all the best, and hopefully that, you know, more than 30 years have passed and more than 30 years will come. So
Thank you. I think it's really important I say this, so that I've sat here for a while now talking about what we've done for Vietnam and the Vietnamese children. It's really important I say that Vietnam has given us as a family incredible riches of the heart and the mind and the soul. And we've got back so much more. And we feel blessed to have been a part of this incredible country and such incredible people. So it's been very much 2 ways.
Well, thank you so much for your sharing today, Helen. And I wish you, your mother, your son, all the best in all the future activities. And CNCF can bring more help and support to disadvantaged children in Vietnam. And that's it for this edition of Talk Vietnam in our Ho Chi Minh City-based studio. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you again next time.